Well, good morning, youth. Some of you are probably too young for this lingo. And on the other side of it, I'm not even sure if young people still use this kind of lingo anymore. But back when I was in high school and in college, there came a point in every dating relationship where the guy and the girl had to have what we called the DTR, a talk to define D, the T relationship, R. A guy and a girl would have it when they had been going out on some dates, but they really hadn't yet put formal parameters around the relationship and where it was going and where and who and what they were actually considering one another. Now, it was always a fairly awkward conversation because whoever brought it up did so with much fear and trepidation because they were unsure if the other person would reject them or get scared away by it or something like that. And in general, a DTR was a conversation that covered the past relationship that they had had so far, the present relationship that they did have, and where they thought or hoped the relationship was going. I remember when Mama and Rollo and I first had this conversation. I was actually in Los Angeles for a staff training for Campus Crusade missionaries, and I was about to leave for a year's worth of missions work in East Asia. And we hadn't yet talked about whether or not we would try to continue to stay together and pursue a relationship towards marriage while I was gone for a year. So we had to have a DTR. I wished I had brought it up in person, but I had been too afraid to do that earlier on. So my last chance was while we were in LA and we could talk on the phone easily enough. Fortunately, she decided to stick with me. She may regret that decision now, but she stuck with it now. So in Exodus 19, we have a kind of DTR between God and the Jews, or really God and all humanity. They've been in the wilderness for 3 months now, and they've made it to Mount Sinai, which is the mountain of God. In fact, this shows that God has fulfilled his promise that he first made to Moses back in Exodus chapter 3, verse 12. I will be with you, and this shall be a sign to you that I have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God on this mountain, the very mountain they were on again. Here, God begins to put formal parameters around the relationship. And here the Hebrews become the official nation of Israel, the people of God. He had redeemed them from Egypt. He had kept them in the wilderness, and now it was time for them formally to become married to God in a sense. It's kind of like a DTR. I'm going to read just verses 3 to 6. And when you get done with this video, go off and read all of chapter 19 for yourself. But we're going to look at just 3 to 6 right now. Thus you shall say to the house of Jacob and tell the people of Israel, you yourselves have seen what I did to the Egyptians and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, you shall be my treasured possession among all the peoples, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words you shall speak to the people of Israel. So that statement is often been called the heart of the Old Testament because it pretty much summarizes the Old Testament. In fact, you could really summarize all of human history in the terms of that statement. But we're not really concerned with that part right now, but about God's relationship with his people. This is the most important DTR in really the history of the world. It's far more important than any conversation you will ever have with any other person that you ever have a relationship with. Yet it still has the elements of a standard kind of human DTR. Even today, a summary of the past relationship so far, what God had done for them so far, what the present relationship looks like, and what God has planned for the future for them. And this applies to more than just the Israelites. It applies to our relationship with God as well. Our relationship with God can be defined in these kinds of terms. In fact, as we look at each part of it, we're going to see that each part of it whispers the name of Jesus in every statement, as we have already seen thus far in the book leading up until now. But we're going to get to that in the next Devos. We don't have time to get into that today. In the meantime, go read Exodus chapter 19 for yourself. You think about it. And I'll see you tomorrow.